off with that, lentils are grown prominently in the land of Punjab, which is in North India. We have this dal, which is called the urad dal, but it is split. Anything which is split is known as dal, which is not split will be a bean. And we have these split chickpeas, which is called chana dal. And the dal which I have just used, the black and white one, is called mahdi dal, chilke wali. So what we do is, we have these dals. Traditionally, that is the dal which should be prepared in a langar. Of course, that tradition is a lot of times not followed. And we put some water for boiling. We can add some turmeric, which has been used in Indian cooking for several years. Today, turmeric has become very fashionable, and we have turmeric lattes and everything else. And it's a great antiseptic as well. Because I'm going to be cutting and chopping, if any one of you sees that I have cut my finger quickly, please apply some turmeric on my finger. That should be good enough. Don't believe in bandages. We are going to make the flatbread, which if we go and attend a langar is called the prashada, or the divine offering. The constituents of a prashada or a roti or a chapati or a fulka is whole wheat flour, a little bit of that, a little bit of salt. We're using low sodium salt because our lifestyles have become such that excessive amount of salt and lack of exercise has resulted in high blood pressure, cholesterol, etc., etc. So, and water. So when we are cooking, we have to taste, touch, feel. We have to feel the food. No matter whether you are beginning to cook today or you've been cooking for years, every person who's fond of cooking has to feel the food, because that's the best way of cooking. So we add a little bit of water to the flour and make a soft dough. And those are the only three things which go into making a soft dough. You can add a little bit of oil to give the dough a little extra pliability. Bringing back to the tradition and the concept of langar, what the first Guru started, he passed on the legacy to the second Guru, whose original name was Lehna, who then came to be known as Guru Angad. Guru Angad's wife was called Khivi, and we call her Mata Khivi or Mother Khivi. So Mother Khivi or Mata Khivi, when she saw the langar, of course, she was completely bought into the philosophy. But Guru Angad had a purpose for Mata Khivi. At that time, women did not enjoy equal status in society. They were looked down upon. So Guru Angad said, please, can you take charge of the community kitchen or the langar? And Mata Khivi happily did. So what she said was that dal and roti or prashada and roti is great, but let's add an element. She was an amazingly selfless soul and completely driven to serve the humanity. So she started making a sweet dish, a simple rice pudding, which we call Kheer. And that Kheer is very much a part of the traditional langar today. Such was the kind of selfless service that Mata Khivi used to do, that Mata Khivi is the only wife of any of our 10 gurus whose name is mentioned in our religious scriptures, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. None of the other gurus' wives' name is mentioned in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. She was so good, and such was her spirituality and selflessness. So she started the tradition of Kheer. In fact, there is a shabad or a little hymn in Guru Granth Sahib Ji which talks about her and the Kheer. So we have the Kheer, which is here. You can use any rice except maybe arborio rice or black rice. Any basmati rice or broken basmati would do, or any other variety of rice would do as well. Only these two things go in. For extra flavoring, you can use cardamom, green cardamom, as I had just done. Just break open one pod and drop it in. It'll lend a nice flavor to it. Sugar usually goes towards the end, but I will add it now so that I don't forget. We just saw how we have to prepare the dough. The soft dough is prepared here. What we have to do is make the dough ball. And what we do is use the palms and just roll it. Use the thumb to give it some shape. A lot of times you see a little hole or a little crack at the base. All you have to do is use the tips of your finger to secure or seal the dough ball, and we are ready to roll. Our pan is heating up very nicely over there. With the dough ball, we use some dusting. A lot of times people ask me, how do you get a really round, puffed up chapati or a prashada? What's the trick? It's a no-brainer. Hold it in your left-hand side, secure the dough ball with the thumb and the middle finger, and just thin the edges a little bit. Thin the edges. And that will help in even rolling. That will also ensure that the center is not thin and the edges are not thick. It'll be nice even rolling. Give it some dusting. And then comes the time to roll. Use a rolling pin. You see, roll forward and back. And then you turn it the other way around. Just give it a little bit of more dusting. And we do the same thing again. Roll forward and back, and that's it. It's as simple and easy as that. So the pan is hot. There's no moisture, extra moisture, and there it goes. And we also have some oil heating up for the dal, the cholian dal. We're going to give a tempering, which in the Punjabi term is called tadka. To turn over the chapati or the prashada. The oil is hot. We're going to use a little bit of cumin seeds or jeera for the tempering. So while we're doing that, let's also talk about what happened next. So as the tradition passed on, came the time of the third Guru, Guru Amar Das Ji. So Guru Amar Das Ji helped to institutionalize the tradition of langar, and he further reinforced the message that it is available for all, regardless of caste, creed, color, social or financial status. When the third Mughal emperor Akbar came to meet him, he was also asked to partake the langar first. So people used to make these spiritual journeys or pilgrimages. They used to come from far off places, right? And there were no aeroplanes, cars, motorbikes at that time. So Guru Amar Das Ji said, langar first, and then you connect with God. Because if you're hungry in your stomach, you're going to be hungry in your soul as well. And he also said, so we were all going to sit on the floor and partake the langar so that equality exists. And nobody is discriminated upon, whether he's a beggar, whether he's a worker, whether he is a prince or a pauper. So he said, everybody is going to sit on the floor in rows. And the Sanskrit word or straight lines of people sitting in rows is pankti. For those of you who know Sanskrit and Hindi would know this better than me. That term got distorted in Gurmukhi or Punjabi, and it is called pangat. So when we go to a Gurdwara and we are sitting in the Darbar hall listening to hymns or the Shabad Kirtan or the divine messages, that is called the Sangat. But when we go down to the Langar hall and we are partaking the Langar, that is called Pangat. So that is the difference between Sangat and Pangat, and both principles are important. That's it, the prashada is ready. And that's all there is to it. No need to apply butter or anything. You can have it just like that. I'm going to put that away. So, the tradition of Pangat got started, and then came the time of Guru Ramdas, the fourth Guru, who was born in a poor family, but he became so rich, so spiritually rich, that he took the langar to the next level. And today, in Sri Harmandir Sahib, the most prominent of all Gurudwaras for the Sikhs in India, a staggering amount of 50,000 people are served langar free of charge every single day. On event days, that number far exceeds 100,000 people. So while the dal is boiling and our oil is getting heated up, we're going to start preparing the vegetable or the sabzi. That became the fourth most important element of langar as the time passed by. We are using rapeseed oil here because it is extremely healthy. You only need to use a tiny amount because the quality of the rapeseed oil is such that the molecules will spread. Today we are going to make the sabji with using some onions, and we are also talking about how to reduce food waste. A lot of times I see people using an onion and chopping the top and chopping the end. Half the onion is gone in the bargain. Please don't do that. Let's waste as little as we possibly can and either use the top, either leave the top or the bottom intact because it helps to secure the onion better. Split it into half and use small onions for those who don't cook often, or for those who feel that onion is beyond me. No, it isn't. So the trick is my finger to make a claw shape with your left hand, if you're a right-handed, of course, and then the other way around if you're not. And claw, and then using a sharp knife, keep moving the claw and keep going. Do please try this at home. I would very much encourage you to do that. And then we chop, 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 chop. And I don't need to look at my knife or the board to do that. And not because I'm a Jackie Chan or anything else, but it's just, it just comes. It happens. And let's remember, we have the God Almighty watching us and blessing us. So nothing is going to happen to your fingers. Don't be scared. Just go ahead and do it. The oil is hot here. Again, you can feel whether the oil is hot by just putting your hand on top of the surface. That will tell you. So a few mustard seeds. Crackling? Yes, no. And some cumin seeds. Followed by a little bit of chopped ginger. You may notice that the ingredients are just jumping. Look at these seeds. In French term, it's called sauté, or to jump. And that's what is happening here. And then we put some garlic, some chopped garlic, and we sauté that as well. The lentils are almost boiled, so we're ready to roll on that front as well. No need to brown the garlic because that's going to leave a bitter taste in the mouth. And we add some onions. Finely chopped onions. I was talking about a small onion. It's easy to chop, it's easy to hold, and it has less moisture content as compared to the large giant Spanish onions where the layers keep falling off and then you can't control it. So if we start with the small onions, it makes the job easier. And as they say, we have some potatoes. You can use 1, 2, 3 or multiple varieties of vegetables. They go in first. Why? Because out of all these vegetables that we have here, potatoes are going to take the longest while cooking. So we put that first, and then we add a little bit of turmeric. Turmeric has a tendency of going dark very quickly. So it always helps if there is some moisture, because that will ensure that the turmeric does not burn. What we want is a nice, beautiful color of the end product. If the food is not pleasing to the eye, it might not please to the stomach either. So let's make sure that the food is cooked nicely with good color, good flavor, and good texture. The oil here is hot as well. For the lentils, I'm only going to use cumin seeds. So they go in here, followed by the onions in quick succession. And some garlic, some ginger. And cook on slow fire. If the onions are cooked on a very, very high heat, then they will caramelize too quickly. The surface will become brown, whereas the center will remain quite raw. And if the onions are not cooked properly, you will find yourself burping quite a bit. So the tip is to cook the onions depending on the need of the vegetable or any preparation that is being done. So the potatoes have been cooking. We have some carrots, diced carrots, which go in next. The other thing that you may have noticed already, that it's all vegetarian food. Langar is always vegetarian. Why did the Gurus keep it vegetarian? For the simple reason that the vegetables are easily available, they are economical, And the lentils that we're cooking are called poor man's protein. No need to buy chicken, lamb, prawn, lobster, etc., etc. Not only are there food safety issues, but there is also the issue of keeping the cost down, especially when we have issues like Brexit and we have the austerity measures forced upon us. So we have these two vegetables. I'm going to add some French beans, some baby corn, all organically sourced. Today the organic produce may be a little bit expensive, but it wasn't so, and even now in India organic produce is cheaper. It's become fashionable now, hence the cost goes up. We're talking about simple economics and the supply and demand situation. But as we go along and as we bear the challenges, the environmental challenges of the world, it's a no-brainer that the organic food will eventually become more economical. We put some cauliflower, but remember it's also about ensuring that we minimize the amount of food waste. So it's always a good idea to use the inner leaves or the cauliflower that one sees at the base, and to use the heart as well of the cauliflower. It is a little bit pungent, it's a little bit sour as well, and it adds great flavor and texture to the preparation. We're doing that, and also a little bit of that. The other thing to remember in the langar is that it must never be wasted. It has been prepared with utmost love, care and devotion. But even at home, food must never be wasted. I just went to tip a little container in that bin over there, which perhaps has been moved. It was right next to this statue here, this structure. And I was sad to see that some people who partook the langar had thrown it into the bin. Nothing more painful for me to see than that. So please, let's be respectful, because money was spent in buying those ingredients which went into preparing the food, and it's almost like putting the money into the bin. I'm not sure whether that's very sensible. So that's it. We can put a little bit of green chilies. You can call it finger chilies here if you go to the supermarkets, but not the bird's eye chili. If you can handle the heat, great. If you can't handle the heat, you might find yourself flying like a bird after eating a bird's eye chili. You can see the color is great. Yeah, the turmeric has not discolored. It has not made the vegetables go too dark. So while these vegetables are being cooked, we have the tempering of the lentils also ready. The last thing which goes in are the tomatoes. You can cook the tomatoes as much or as little that you would like. And then to finish off our cooking, in Indian cooking, coriander is used quite a lot. Maximum flavor comes from the root, so no point throwing the roots away. You can halve that, it depends on, and maybe halve that, and then hold it like this so that it grips better, and the work is done in the quarter of amount of time as it would have taken to cut off the length. Hold it densely and never chop coriander or mint twice. Again, holding it like a claw, using a sharp knife, and then go. The coriander has been washed and dried, hence it is easy to grip. If the coriander is wet, you are more likely to cut your fingers, but you will have turmeric to the rescue, so no worries there. Again, if we are confident feeling the food, just as we are stirring the vegetables, or anything for that matter, the feel will tell you whether the food is cooked or not. We have this coriander, it goes a little bit in dal, and a little bit in the vegetables. For those who observe it, thank you. I'm a human after all. Tomatoes go in last, simply because tomatoes have a lot of acidity. And sometimes adding the acidity prior to cooking off most of the ingredients is that it prevents even cooking, and it will leave extra crunch or extra bite to the vegetables. which some people do not prefer. However, there is another thing. When we are cooking the vegetables, try not to cook them to the degree that they become mushy. So some texture, some crunchiness is good because it allows the flavors to come through and the textures to come through. We should be able to tell whether there is cauliflower in it, whether beans in it, potatoes in it, etc., etc. Otherwise, it just all tastes the same. Kheer is since we are going almost, but again, never to waste langar, always be respectful. We have the vegetables which are cooked despite the tomatoes and the other ingredients that have gone in. The tadka of the lentils is ready as well, so that goes in and that finishes off the cooking. It has been a great privilege to be here and demonstrate and share some of the principles of langar. As we finish this off, let's put our hands together to the God Almighty and say a little prayer which was started by our first Guru, Guru Nanak. We say that, all Sikhs say that every single day, and that's how we start our journey into the challenges of our everyday world. It's called the Mool Mantra. Let's say this together. For those of you who know, great. For those who don't, can listen and perhaps repeat. Ek Onkar, Satnam, Karta Purakh, Nirbhav, Nirvair, Akal Murat, Ajuni Saibham, Gur Prasad, Jap, Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Hai bhi Sach, Nanak, Hosi bhi Sach. May the Almighty bless this langar and may this be ready to be served to everybody over here. Pardon my mistakes. Any questions, please feel free to ask. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you.